Good afternoon, and welcome to the DCTV News at Noon program.
The Southwest TV Translator Association underwrites the news, and Dolores County Broadcasting Network provides the support for DCTV.
The News at Noon program assembles the best and most interesting news from the area, offers intriguing content for its viewers, and provides local weather for the Four Corners region. What do you think? Give us a call with news tips or topics you'd like to see covered. The number is 677-4119.
We appreciate you watching. I'm Kendra Cook, and my co-hosts are Kelsey Kiesling and Jerry Tope, who brings you his weather forecast later on in the broadcast. Now, here's what's news for you today, day 216 and National Watermelon Day, Wednesday, August 3rd, 2016. And in our third installment, in as many days, regarding the Gold King mine, the Durango Herald reported more on the criminal investigation. Again, breaking news that federal investigators have confirmed that a criminal investigation is ongoing in connection to last year's Gold King mine spill. The EPA Office of Inspector General said in a news release Friday that it launched a criminal probe, which has been underway since last year, in response to high public interest. Based on requests from several members of the House and Senate, the OIG is conducting both a program evaluation and a criminal investigation of the Gold King mine spill, the release stated. The Office of Inspector General is an independent office within the EPA that performs audits, program evaluations, and investigations of the EPA. The scope of the criminal investigation could be expansive, according to the OIG. The OIG will investigate any individuals who have a nexus to the potential criminal activity falling under its jurisdiction, said Jeff Lagda, spokesman for the Inspector General's office. However, any potential criminal activity that is determined to be outside the nexus of the OIG will be referred to the appropriate law enforcement agency. The news release announcing the criminal probe was distributed across the country, though it did not make it to the Durango Herald, despite promises by federal officials to prioritize communications with the local community. DCTV did find it online, reporting briefly on it yesterday. Colorado U.S. Senator Cory Gardner said the people of Durango and southwestern Colorado should have been the first to know. In the wake of the August 5th, 2015 Gold King mine spill, EPA was criticized for delays in communication with local governments and communities. A spokesman for the OIG apologized for not sending the release and downplayed its significance, pointing out that the investigation has been underway for some time. Gardner, however, believes there is great significance to the announcement, which confirmed for the first time that a criminal investigation is taking place. It's a big deal, Gardner said. You don't criminally investigate the federal government every day. Maybe they're trying to downplay this to keep it at a low-key level. A letter to U.S. senators on June 29th, including Gardner, stated that a program evaluation began on August 17, 2015. On November 4, 2015, the OIG identified additional issues. U.S. Senator John McCain, Republican of Arizona, in April called on the Senate Indian Affairs Committee to subpoena EPA Administrator Gina McCarthy to appear at an April 22nd field hearing in Arizona. It wasn't the first time Congress pushed subpoenas stemming from this disaster. Conflicting reports have cast shadows over the conversation, resulting in the House Committee on Natural Resources issuing subpoenas to Interior Secretary Sally Jewell and Lieutenant General Thomas Bostick with the Army Corps of Engineers. In pushing for the subpoenas and additional information, members of Congress also called for a criminal probe into the incident. There's no question as to the EPA's culpability for this spill, and this criminal investigation is critical to ensuring justice is served for all those impacted by this terrible disaster, McCain said in a statement issued Monday. U.S. Representative Scott Tipton, Republican of Cortez, said Tuesday, the people of this community have every right to a full accounting of the EPA's actions or inactions that led to the Gold King mine disaster, and the agency's failures to communicate and respond in its wake. I welcome this investigation, hope it provides answers to looming questions, and delivers accountability that has been sorely missing at the EPA, he said.
According to the Cortez Journal, Town of Mancos officials have prepared another draft ordinance regulating livestock and other animals kept in town. Staffers presented the ordinance to trustees at their meeting Wednesday, July 27th, and the board referred it back to the Town Planning and Zoning Board. The trustees didn't take a vote on the ordinance, and Trustee Cindy Simpson was absent from the meeting. The latest version of the ordinance allows for up to 12 hens, quail, or rabbits, 2 bee colonies, or 1 rooster in any town zoning district without a permit. Lots with a minimum of 1 acre of open space in any district may have 1 cow, pig, horse, or other livestock animal, but must meet the 30-foot setback from the property line for the animal structure. Mancos resident Kevin Cook spoke at the meeting, urging trustees to remove the allowance for 1 rooster. He said roosters are loud and always trouble within the confines of a town. Trustees agreed that allowing one rooster was acceptable for the ordinance. The Planning and Zoning Board will discuss the ordinance at a future meeting in August or September, Town Manager Andrea Phillips said. A public hearing will be held on the ordinance at that time.
Durango Herald reported residents in Durango will continue to see Atmos energy crews this summer as the company replaces natural gas pipelines. We're replacing aging infrastructure in Durango as well as across the state of Colorado, said Darwin Winfield, a spokesman for the Dallas, Texas-based company. This work is necessary to maintain the safety and reliability of our natural gas distribution system. Winfield said Durango residents shouldn't expect any major road closures as a result of the work, but at times traffic may be temporarily delayed or rerouted. He said all roads will have proper signs and barricades to indicate traffic adjustments. In Durango, Atmos Energy is the only provider of natural gas, serving about 13,500 customers throughout La Plata County. Generally, residents can choose between natural gas or electric energy or have a mixture of both. Last year, the Public Utilities Commission of Colorado allowed Atmos Energy to institute a rate increase to customers with the sole purpose of raising money, a statewide initiative to upgrade its natural gas lines. The increase took effect January 1st, though officials at Atmos and the Utilities Commission did not have the amount immediately available. Terry Boat, spokesman for the Utilities Commission, said the department generally allows natural gas companies to apply a rate hike because it allows companies to repair its infrastructure at a faster pace. Two other natural gas providers in the state, Rocky Mountain Natural Gas and Xcel Energy, have similar programs in place. Winfield said Atmos has contracted 3 crews to do the work. Boat said that statewide utility companies are not lagging behind and instead are addressing issues as they find them. None of these projects rise to any imminent threat to safety, he said. These programs provide incentives for utilities to make improvements quicker. City of Durango officials on Tuesday said other than granting crews access to work on the right-of-way easements, the city is not involved in the project. Winfield said it's likely Atmos will be back in the area next year to undertake more upgrades. He said if customers anywhere near a project start to smell gas, they should leave the area and call 911.
According to the Durango Herald, La Plata County Commissioners on Tuesday approved 2-to-1 a resolution to ask voters for a tax increase in November to fund a new terminal and improvements to the Durango-La Plata County Airport. Voters' approval would effectively increase county debt by $40.4 million to be paid through an increased property tax. Taxpayer revenue would cover about half of the project, with the rest to come from other sources, including Federal Aviation Administration grants. Consistent with statements in previous meetings, Commissioners Brad Blake and Gwen Lachelt supported the resolution. Commissioner Julie Westendorf opposed it. The 2 supporting commissioners maintain that the airport cannot wait and the question should be floated while there is momentum behind it. Westendorf is against multiple mill levy increase proposals crowding the ballot in the same year. The ballot item will not specify a mill levy amount. It will be set yearly by commissioners at an increase sufficient to make debt payments over 20 years. Commissioners also unanimously adopted a position of advocacy for the mill levy increase for roads and bridges, which was approved last month. The Durango City Council Tuesday unanimously backed the resolution supporting the property tax increase for roads and bridges. The decline in the gas and oil industry has led to a need for more funds, Councilor Dick White said. Durango, Ignacio, and Bayfield would also receive a percentage for road maintenance.
From the San Juan Record, it was standing room only on July 27th in Blanding, Utah, as U.S. Senator Mike Lee of Utah held a field hearing of the Senate Energy and Natural Resources Committee. The meeting focused on the Public Lands Initiative and then the proposed Bears Ears National Monument. A crowd estimated at 1,000 filled the San Juan High School auditorium and spilled over into adjacent rooms and corridors to hear testimony from 5 people. Senator Lee heard from Utah Governor Gary Herbert, Congressman Rob Bishop, San Juan County Commissioner Bruce Adams, and local residents Chester Johnson and Lewis Singer. The hearing was in marked contrast to a July 16th hearing with federal officials in Bluff, which included Secretary of the Interior Sally Jewell. At the Bluff meeting, the crowd was roughly equal for or against the National Monument. Large groups of people from outside of the area attended that hearing to support the monument, including several large busloads from surrounding states. In Blanding, primarily local residents made a strong voice against the proposed national monument, with messages written on cars and on signs along the sidewalks. Nearly half of the large crowd were Native American. They presented a united front of local residents opposed to the creation of a national monument. Senator Lee stated that San Juan County is, quote, truly one of the most spectacular places on earth. He added that he understood why people travel from all over the world to have their breath taken away here. Lee stated that everyone seems to have 4 shared goals as they relate to the Bears Ears area, including a goal to protect the Bears Ears, to continue Native American use on the land, to establish Native American programs in the Bears Ears area, and to encourage multiple use of the public lands. Lee stated that a national monument designation would not meet those goals. The Antiquities Act simply does not allow for the inclusive multiple land use, said Lee. In contrast, the senator said the Public Lands Initiative, or PLI, requires no leap of faith. Everyone was invited to participate in the PLI process. Some chose not to. Lee said the Bears Ears Coalition, which supports a national monument, refuses to meet and added, "We hope that they will meet because the debate clearly isn't over." Governor Gary Herbert said he would speak on behalf of the people of Utah. Quote, "The consensus is to preserve the Bears Ears area. The discussion is how," said Herbert. "The local people who bear the brunt of the impact should be considered. Those who are elected by the people bear the accountability for what the government does to the people." Herbert said that because of the lack of public process when the Grand Staircase National Monument was designated in 1996, there is still anger and distrust. That was something done to us rather than something done with us, Herbert said. If you really care about the land, the PLI is the best option. Congressman Rob Bishop said he has held more than 1,000 meetings to develop the PLI proposal. Bishop stated that the Antiquities Act was used sparingly in the past, with Jimmy Carter the only president in a nearly 30-year period to designate national monuments. Commissioner Bruce Adams, a fourth-generation rancher, said he wanted to represent the farmers and ranchers in San Juan County and the city watersheds. Adams said that cattlemen are the original environmentalists because they care for the land and see the value of wise management. He said 106,000 AUMs, Animal Unit Month, were authorized for grazing in Grand Staircase, but only 40,000 were used last year. Adams added that the watersheds for Monticello and Blanding are included in the proposed Bears Ears National Monument, and losing the ability to maintain or develop water rights would have a devastating impact on these communities. Adams said this is the most divisive issue to ever face this county. Chester Johnson from Aneth said that he believes in protection of the Bears Ears area. He supports the PLI and opposes the Bears Ears National Monument. Johnson said that Native Americans go to the Bears Ears to be peaceful and renew, and said that the National Monument does not include local Native Americans. Johnson outlined a series of concerns and issues that he said shows the Navajo Nation does not serve local Navajos. Lewis Singer, a career educator and foster parent to 57 Navajo children, discussed the impact of a national monument designation, ranging from firewood to access to overvisitation. The hearing adjourned after approximately 90 minutes. It was followed by a town hall meeting in which a large number of local residents were able to express their concerns.
According to the Durango Herald, Memorial Park is headed for a makeover now that the city has reached agreement with the contractor that built the Atmos River Trail extension through the park. Quote, "The grass didn't come in with the seed specification that we requested. We worked with the contractor for quite some time to see if that could be remediated," Parks and Recreation Director Kathy Metz said. With money from the settlement, the city plans to reseed the grass, plant 10 trees, and get rid of some weeds in the park to bring it back up to city standards, said Metz. The city will receive $39,000 from the contractor's insurance company to help pay for the project. The total estimate is about $74,000. Money left from the original project that started in 2013 will cover the rest. The settlement was reached between Animas Valley Construction, the company's insurance company, and the city. It did not go to court. Contractors that work with the city must take out bonds to ensure their work, and that is what is going to pay for part of the project. It's not typical for the city to go after a contractor's bond, Metz said. Work on Memorial Park may start in the fall, depending on the new contractor's schedule. The trail will remain open during the turf work. And now here's our weather report.
The image does not look like much, does it? But don't judge a book by its cover. We're so used to clouds without rain here that we might easily be shocked when they hang around and do something remotely like what they do anywhere else. And the "I'll believe it when I see it" statement where rain is concerned is standard operating procedure for most area residents. Now that I've made that statement, the forecast for the next few days will either let me put a lot of foot in my mouth or maybe I'll get it right. Safety first has to be the rule. Someone somewhere in prehistoric times said so, so here goes. Once rain begins, it will stay in place without much real perceptible motion, and in our terrain, small rains easily make flash floods. Southwest Colorado and southeast Utah have a flash flood watch in effect today from noon to midnight, primarily for the San Juans and southern valleys. Heavy rain and real downpours are possible with the stronger cells. If the stronger cells heavy rainfall rates, those rates could exceed an inch or more per hour. That's not unusual anywhere in the majority of the country, except here in the great desert Southwest. And for Dove Creek, it has the potential to hold us spellbound. The National Weather Service has cited our area as having the best potential of our forecast area for flash flooding today in this current weather pattern. Quoting the National Weather Service, the area of the country with the greatest potential for heavy rain and flash flooding will be the Four Corners region, especially the higher terrain of Arizona and New Mexico. An enhanced monsoonal flow over this region south of the cold front will result in the development of numerous showers and thunderstorms each afternoon and evening. Some areas may receive in excess of 2 inches of rainfall by Thursday evening. Somehow half as much rain as the area gets immediately south of us is all it takes to give us flash floods also. Once again, this system does not have sufficient wind to keep it moving. This system will spread northward tomorrow, covering most of the western slope. The potential for mud and rock slides has a high potential, and normally dry canyons could run as well. Whatever happens today, tomorrow and Friday have the potential for stronger rains forecast. The National Weather Service Weather Forecast Office in Grand Junction is waiting to see what happens today to use the data gathered to try and fine-tune for Thursday and Friday. Friday could give more or less than Thursday. Check out NOAA's website at weather.gov/GJT for the latest on flash flood potential. Input your zip code and look for the area forecast discussion and special weather service or special weather statement. I looked at an actual list of mountains, valleys, towns, and cities on the list for the areas that will be affected today or tomorrow with flash flood conditions. And there's no place you could name within 200 miles or more that was not on the list. Sunday is expected to see a lot less activity at this point, but there's a system in the northwest and a high between it and us in the southwest that's helping to keep that low that is affecting our southwest in place. And it will continue to push more scattered and sporadic storms, that one in the northwest will, late in the weekend and early next week. So if we take a look at the national weather image, as promised, the regional forecast note, in the regional note, the largest flash flood area in the country, that red hatch area, is in the southwest. The heaviest rains as of early this morning were nearing the Four Corners, and that red area should be covering the Four Corners as well. If the forecasts prove accurate, it will cover most of the west slope and eastern Utah at some point over the next 2 to 3 days. All the northwest except the tiniest corner is dry, and again all of central and south Texas, most of Oklahoma, Arkansas, and the west half of Louisiana are also under a high pressure dry. Some of lower Michigan and Ohio and Illinois and most of New England are also dry. The rest of the country has rain and thunderstorms with the greatest severity in the Dakotas and Minnesota. Another area in the coastal Carolinas and a bit of Virginia are also in heavier flash flood conditions. High temps near 80, Mid-80s for the 5 days, with lows all over the 50s is in the automated forecast. Thunderstorms, and the best for the summer, is likely to offer, and lightning without wind to notice. Flash flooding is the concern for the area, so be safe.
According to the Durango Herald, in 2006, Keith Oatley, a cognitive psychologist at the University of Toronto, helped conduct a study that linked reading fiction to better performance on empathy and social acumen tests. Participants were first tested on their ability to recognize author names, a decent proxy for figuring out how many books they read and what kinds. We are all familiar with the stereotype of the bookworm, he and his co-authors wrote. An image leaps automatically to mind, that of a nebbish and unfashionable individual wearing spectacles whose demeanor is largely characterized by the social awkwardness one might expect from someone who has chosen the company of print over peers. But the second half of the study suggested that stereotype is unfair, Oatley said. The participants were then scored on Interpersonal Reactivity Index, which is designed to measure empathy, and the Reading the Mind in the Eyes test, which gauges ability to interpret the mental states of others by asking people to associate pictures of actors' eyes with an emotion. Participants who knew the most fiction writers on the author recognition test scored far higher on the measurements of social acumen. People who read more fiction were better at empathy and understanding others, Oatley said. Any author would tell you as much. Then again, they have a vested interest in doing so. But according to Oatley, psychology had long been very sniffy about studying fiction. But the past decade and a half has seen a shift in that trend. In 2000, Jameljan Hacke-Mulder at Utrecht University in Germany published The Moral Laboratory, a book outlining the results of almost 24 experiments that linked reading to better social skills. A 2013 study in the American Psychological Association's journal, Psychology of Aesthetics, Creativity, and the Arts found that the process of imagining scenes while reading led to an increase in empathy and pro-social behavior. Raymond Marr, a psychologist who co-authored the 2006 study with Oatley, has found that the parts of the brain used for inferring thoughts and feelings of others, a phenomenon called mentalizing, light up in an MRI machine when people are processing stories. This phenomenon is probably form neutral. Studies of people viewing dramatic television shows such as The West Wing and The Wire, or playing immersive narrative video games, found that they had the same effect as reading literature.
Durango Herald reported on the story of the Ark of History. The city of Durango installed Tom Holmes' Ark of History sculpture in 2014. The $28,000 piece of public art is at the U.S. Highway 550 and 160 intersection. It was the target of controversy and hijinks. The sculpture was decorated as a dinosaur and a dragon. In July 2015, vandals inflicted some serious damage. This week, the city's Public Art Commission decided to remove the Ark rather than pursue repairs. And now Tom Holmes, creator of the Ark of History sculpture, is investigating the possibility of taking legal action against the city of Durango. Holmes, who lives in Pennsylvania, has been in contact with lawyers regarding the city's decision last week to remove his sculpture on the pretense of a failure to respond to a contract the Public Arts Commission claims it sent to him on May 4th. These attorneys are gathering documents, including the document that says I was offered $28,000 to repair that was never received, Holmes said. After that point, my attorneys will advise me on what's the best course of action. Minutes from the June 28th meeting for the Public Arts Commission state that a letter was sent on May 4th, quote, offering $28,000 for the restoration of the artwork. But Holmes maintains that he did not receive the offer. The basis for the artist's potential legal action is the Visual Artist Rights Act, which states that while Holmes might lack ownership of the sculpture, he has a right to, quote, prevent any intentional distortion, mutilation, or other modification of his artwork. City officials said last week they don't intend to destroy the sculpture, but according to the Public Art Master Plan, the city can relocate or store it or return it to the artist. If that fails, the city can sell it in a public auction or trade it for other works of art. While Holmes is open to all possible solutions to the issue with the Ark, he believes that it should fall to the city to repair and safely store his artwork. He said it's their responsibility under VARA to care for that sculpture. Christy Scott, chairwoman of the Public Art Commission, had a different opinion. My understanding is his right would be to disassociate from the piece, Scott said. But this is dependent on the wording of the contract between the city and Holmes, which states that the city may, quote, use, display, lend, and transfer of the sculpture as the city deems appropriate. The contract goes on to say that the artist waives the right to place restrictions on the placement or display of the sculpture by the city. We can do with it as we see fit based on the policies created by the Commission, Scott said. The larger issue, though, is the lack of response from city officials and the decision-making process behind removing the piece, Holmes said. Also questionable is officials' failure to confirm that the letter to Holmes was received through follow-up correspondence. It wasn't until recently when it became clear we would not be able to replace that piece with the budget that we had from the insurance claim that we ever considered disaccessioning it, she said. On August 25, 2015, the Public Art Commission decided to restore the vandalized Ark of History, but it also had a conversation about replacing the artwork with a different piece because of the controversy, according to the minutes from the meeting. The idea of replacing the artwork was raised by a member of the public attending the meeting, Scott said. Documents shows that the commission discussed the laws concerning public art and the precedent replacing a vandalized piece of artwork would set.
According to the Durango Herald, school districts across the country are adopting grading practices that make it more difficult for students to flunk classes, giving students opportunities to retake exams or turn in late work, and discouraging or prohibiting teachers from giving out zeros. The policies have stirred debates about the purpose of academic grades and whether they should be used to punish, motivate, or purely represent what students have learned in class. Some regard it as the latest in a line of ideas intended to keep students progressing through school and heading toward graduation, akin in some ways to practices like social promotion. Under a new policy in Virginia's Fairfax County, one of the nation's largest school systems, middle and high school students can receive a score no lower than 50 if they make a reasonable attempt to complete work. And for the first time this year, high school teachers who were going to fail a student had to re-evaluate the student using quality points, making an F less detrimental to a student's final grade. Prince George's County in Maryland will limit falling grades to a 50% minimum when students show a good faith effort. Proponents of the changes say that new grading systems are fairer and end up being more conducive to learning, encouraging students to catch up when they fall behind rather than just giving up. Many believe that giving a student a score of 0 for an F rather than, say, a score of 50 on even just one bad assignment can doom the student because climbing back to a passing grade can seem almost mathematically impossible. And some failures can put students on a path to dropping out before graduation. But many are critical of the shift, arguing that teachers are losing important tools to enforce diligence and prepare students for college and the workplace. They say that artificially boosting student grades can mask failure and push students through who don't know the material they need to know to actually succeed.
From the Cortez Journal, 12 years ago, Dolores local Kathy Butler retired from a 31-year career as an elementary school teacher, mostly spent in the Mancos School District. But that was not satisfying enough, so she spent the next dozen years teaching kids how to read and write as the children's librarian in Dolores. Now that she has retired a second time, the energetic Butler isn't through yet and is opening a nature center on her sprawling family ranch just north of Dolores off the Norwood Road. The soft-spoken, articulate educator has a knack for telling stories and motivating kids to get hooked on books, writing, and creative arts. Over the years, thousands of kids have passed through her after-school reading and writing programs. She was a familiar sight afternoons during the school year, holding a stop sign for kids to cross Colorado Highway 145 to the library. At one point, she had 8 after-school programs going. This year, she started the Nature Center at Butler Corner on her 236-acre ranch, which borders the San Juan National Forest. She plans to host school groups and community members interested in learning about nature. There are 6 miles of nature trails through forests and meadows, and you can see mountains from all 4 corner states. The nonprofit is under the umbrella of the San Juan Resource Conservation and Development Development Council. Grants are being sought to install composting toilets for visitors. More benches and picnic tables are also planned. Already, local teachers and conservation groups are planning field trips to the new Nature Center, located just 3 miles north of Dolores, where the road bends to enter the National Forest. The center plans to have snowshoe tours and stargazing programs too. And if that is not enough to keep Butler busy, she has completed 8 children's novels that are just sitting on the shelf. I may finally have time to focus on submitting my novels to publishers, she said. I love to write books. For more information on the Nature Center, visit their website at thenaturecenter@butlercorner.org or call 970-882-4593.
According to the Durango Herald, once upon a time, finding out how your child was doing in school could require weeks of patience. You waited for the parent-teacher conference, for a return phone call from school if you were concerned, and eventually for a report card to land in the mailbox. Now, a growing number of families can get instant access to grades and other school information through online parent portals. But just because a grade can be posted hours after a test, does that mean parents should rush to the portal and discuss the B- with their child that evening? How often should they check on grades, and what's the best way to handle the real-time academic updates? My suggestion is for parents to not make themselves crazy checking every day, said Nancy Hill, a developmental psychologist and education professor at the Harvard Graduate School of Education. Parents should start by checking the portals once a week, more if a child is struggling, and see how it goes, said Hill, who studies parental involvement in education during adolescence. Parent portals, which let schools securely post information on attendance, class schedules, report cards, and even lunch menus, along with grades, have gone into use in school systems around the country over the last decade, experts say. Hill says the portals can be empowering, especially for parents of adolescents. Parents can monitor kids' progress behind the scenes and not always have to ask to see the graded papers and tests.
In today's High Country happenings, it's August, and along with the monsoons, fresh corn, cutting wheat, and the opening of the zucchini squash season, it is also time for chilies. In Durango, all weekend long, toward the end of the month, a location called Gazpacho's will be holding their 25th annual chili roast. Harvest isn't yet fixed, so keep an eye out for those green hot goodies. They'll be roasting authentic Hatch green chilies that are so delicious. If you want to make plans to venture south a bit, September 3rd and 4th is the 44th annual Hatch Chili Festival. It's $10 per carload at the municipal airport, 1 mile west of town on Highway 26 in Hatch, New Mexico. Also south into Farmington, New Mexico, August 13th from 2 to 6 p.m. will be the Mac and Cheese Festival at the Aztec Riverside Park. Enjoy live music from the High Rollers and unlimited sampling of gourmet mac and cheese dishes. You can visit them online, themacandcheesefest.com. As a reminder that north of our area, the Olathe Sweet Corn Festival is indeed this weekend on August 6th. It opens at 10 a.m. and runs till 9 p.m. They're celebrating 25 years of the sweet event. As we talked about festivals on yesterday's Talk Tuesday, this one was set up intended to provide a venue for local nonprofits to raise funds. They keep 100% of what they raise. There are corn and corn dog eating contests, a dance contest, archery, and lots of fun for the kids. The musical headliner is James Otto, and opening act is Tyler Gummersall. Go online to OlatheSweetCornFest.com. And the Rocky Mountain Region Pack String will be at the Dolores Public Lands Center this Friday, August 5th from 7 to 9 p.m. to offer a free presentation on how the team's mules are packed for heavy work in backcountry and wilderness areas. For more information, contact the Dolores District Office at 970-882-7296. Now, all of the happenings are posted on our DCTV News at Noon Facebook page, along with the embedded YouTube replays of the live show and the exclusive DCTV 5-day forecast. If you have an event, you can email us at dcbnnews@gmail.com or call the station at 677-4119 and we'll be sure to get it on air.
Thanks for tuning in. This program is aired live at noon Monday through Wednesday and rebroadcast at 2:30 and 8 p.m. on Channel 32.1 Dolores County, and now Channel 18 in Montezuma County and their cable Channel 5.
Share this with a friend and watch the broadcast replayed on YouTube and now featured on the Facebook page. Please like us there and comment. We'd love to hear your voice.
For Kendra Cook, Jerry Tope, and everyone at DCTV with the News at Noon program out of Dove Creek, USA, I'm Kelsey Kiesling. We'll see you back here again next week.